Okay, I think it's probably time to start. First off, let me just thank everybody for coming on to this webinar today. We really appreciate it. Kind of going to come at this with two different people talking. I have on the phone with me Trevor McKee, who is the product manager for Pulse Microsystems, which is the company that developed Spark for AnaJet. Trevor, you can introduce yourself if you'd like.
Hi everyone, I'm Trevor. I think Adam did a pretty good job of introducing me, actually.
Good enough, man.
Yeah.
Good enough. You know, just a brief introduction to everybody in regards to Pulse and the Spark software. AnaJet over the years has always looked for different ways that we can help support our customers in all different arenas. Really, we started with just creating different media types like the foil printing and printing on wood and things like that. And then we thought, well, we really want to make it easy for our customers to create images and use template designs and have a go-to software that they can utilize that is compatible with our AnaJet printers, that makes it kind of streamlines the process for you and allows our customers to tweak and make the designs even more elaborate in a lot of different ways. And so we engaged conversations with Pulse, and over the course of a few years now, we've developed a really rock-steady partnership and created together this Spark software that works directly now with the AnaJet printers. And it basically outlines, we're going to go through all of the really awesome features that it has, but just kind of a brief overview. The goal of this Spark software is to give people a little bit more flexibility with the design part, and to also track, specifically for new businesses, a little bit more detailed description of what you're printing and what you're charging your potential customer. So that's kind of the brief overview, and I've been lucky enough to work with Trevor over the years, and he's a really solid guy, and so I'm probably just going to hand it over to him to get this whole process started. You'll probably hear me chime in here and there just to throw my 2 cents in there, but really Trevor's the man of the hour. So Trevor, if you wouldn't mind, kind of let's get this thing started.
Sure. Thank you for the introduction, and hello to everyone that's here now. Just to give a really brief bit on Pulse, Adam already explained most of it, but we are a company that makes software primarily, and we do so for digital print. You'll see Spark for AnaJet today, and we also do embroidery as well, in case you're into that. So I'm going to move on, and before we actually get into Spark the program, I just wanted to kind of pose a bit of a question for everyone. So that is, why should you offer personalization? And after I wrote that, I actually found out or figured out that it's actually kind of a trick question. The answer to pretty much anyone who has an AnaJet printer or is doing digital print in general is that you actually already do personalization without really thinking about it. So personalization is more than just names. It can be dates, places, it can be personal images that you get from clients of yours. And people mostly think about it as names, but the fact is, if you have an AnaJet printer and you're buying a blank garment and you print anything on it, you're technically personalizing it. But to get more into why to actually personalize using, for example, people's names or dates or for events and stuff like that, it's a bit more complex, I guess. So one of the main reasons to offer personalization is that you can offer a unique product and service to your customers. So when your customer comes in to your shop, they're going to see that they can create something, or you can create something for them that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else. Whether you use your own designs or you use designs that you purchase from someone else or licensed designs, for example, if you're able to personalize them with someone's name or an event date or something like that, that's a big bonus to a lot of people now. It also really lets you take advantage of your Spark machine or your DTG machine in general, because they kind of specialize in smaller print runs. So it gives you a big advantage over screen printing companies, because you're able to take a design and, for example, cost effectively print 4 or 5 of them, or even just one. So that's a huge advantage of offering personalization. The second point is that you can increase your customer loyalty. So your customers, if they do buy something, they're going to understand that they can come to you and get anything made for them. You can print anything on their shirts. You can take their designs and add their names to it. You can take any designs and add dates. You can do event prints for them, anything like that.
Real quickly, Trevor, if I could just make one quick comment. That's actually from a sales standpoint internally at AnaJet. We have a lot of screen printers. The main purpose of them reaching out is customer retention. Them having to turn away customers because they don't have the flexibility that a direct-to-garment printer can give you is a big draw for them to try to get into the direct-to-garment printing world. So that customer loyalty is, I think, is probably one of the more immediate benefits that you'd see. But go ahead, Trevor.
Right. It's a good point. It outlines what I was talking about with the unique products. Even unique as in small print runs can be the difference between you getting a job and not getting a job, really. But if you do create personalized products with names and events and whatnot on them, then you kind of have like an immediate connection with the customer, and that makes them more likely to return, especially if you're capable of doing the small print runs that they require. The last point, and I'm sure the most important point to everyone here, is that if you offer personalizations, you're going to be able to make more money. And the reason is because you can offer the same product, but you can charge more for it. So you're going to have a higher profit margin on the same product because you're able to add a personalization to it. So for example, in many places they'll offer licensed material or unlicensed material for that matter, and they can sell a shirt for $20 or maybe $25. But if you are able to customize that shirt, if someone's able to come to you and say, hey, I like this design, can you put my name on it, or can you put my event on this? Then you can say yes, and you can also charge them anywhere between $3 and $10 more for each of those personalizations. So the ink is going to cost you a few cents, maybe 30 or so cents for white or 90 cents or so for black, but you're able to charge an extra $3 to $10 for each garment that you print for them if they're personalized. So increasing your margins is a big reason to personalize. And yeah, depending on the size of the personalization or the content that you're doing, you can easily sell it for more than $5 even. Like you can get quite a bit for it. But the caveat of that is that you need to be efficient. If you're not efficient, then it's not going to matter that you can charge an extra $5 for each garment that you print, because maybe, for example, it costs you like $2.50 or $3 even between the ink cost and the person operating the machine to create it. So if you lack the efficiency, then you would probably actually want to pass on it. But with Spark, the reason that we've created Spark is that so you can be very efficient with the personalizations that you make, and therefore make more money. And it especially compacts if you can make multiple orders that are the same personalization. It might cost you an extra $1 or $2 or something, but then you end up printing 5 or 6 extra shirts or something, and that's all just extra money. So now I'm going to go to Spark in a second, but first I'm going to describe what it is. Adam gave a great overview at the beginning. But to put it into the simplified terms, into simple terms, I'm going to say that Spark, first of all, is an easy-to-use design and layout platform for personalization. Now, you are not required with Spark to understand Photoshop, but it does help, of course. If you want to make your own designs, you can create them in Photoshop and make changes and add them into Spark for a layout software. But we know that some people as well, especially when they're starting up businesses, they may not be as familiar with Adobe or CorelDRAW or anything like that, so they can outsource their designs from other companies or other people. And Spark lets you just bring them straight into your software, see a preview of it, and then you can send that to your customers and have it printed right away. We also use, you can save templates to make personalizations really quick, which I'll show you a bit later. Secondly, Spark is a library system for designs, templates, and garments. So we keep track of all of your different designs, all of your different templates, and all of your different garments that you save into the system so that you can easily bring them up. So you're able to print on any garment that you have and see what it's going to look like right away. You can open templates. Say, for example, you created a design for a customer 3 months ago and now they want to order more copies of it. Well, you're able to pull up the template and just send it to the printer right away, or you can make small changes to it again and send it to print again. Another thing to note is that for designs, you can actually charge different amounts for different designs that you upload. So you can have your base price of your garment that you're selling, and if someone's uploading designs or if they're selecting a design from the library that you already have, you can add different costs onto that if you like to do business that way. The third point is that Spark is a business tool, especially for newcomers to the digital print industry. Some of them, they may not have information that they need, or they might not even think about it, thinking about the business aspect of running a business. They might get the printer, they can print shirts, they might be fantastic artists, but then what do you do after that? How do you make sure that your customer knows what they're going to pay and what they're going to get before you actually give it to them so that they're happy? So we've included tools for proposals, but we've also found that you can use them for in-package invoicing if you want to as well. Now, the last thing is that Spark is a direct connection to your AnaJet printer. So when you have a design that's ready to go, if you were using another software program like Photoshop, for example, you might have to make changes to your design, which is a bit more complicated, and then you have to save it as your chosen file type and then import it into the AnaRep software. But with Spark, anything that's on the screen, you just have to press the print button and it'll automatically open up the AnaRep software for you with the proper settings and the proper location for you. So I'm going to go into the Spark Designer in a second, and these are kind of an outline of what I'm going to be talking about when we go through that and what I'm going to be demonstrating. And as
Hey, Trevor.
Yep.
Sorry, hey, Trevor, I apologize. I forgot to mention one quick thing for all those that are listening. There's a section that's part of the webinar where you can ask questions. So feel free to type in any questions that you have, and when we get to the very end, we'll make sure that we cover them all. Oops. Go ahead, Trevor. Apologize.
No problem. That's good. I think you might end up having to read them to me, but we'll get to that at the end, which is great. Okay, so I was mentioning before that personalization isn't always a name. It could be a place or a date. That's important to remember when you're considering this. Oops. So right now, I'm actually going to go to the designer. So hopefully everyone can see the designer on the screen. It's going to take over most of the presentation right now. Just Adam, can you confirm that you can see this?
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay. So with the designer here, we'll start off with the basics with garment selection. So we have a couple of different categories on the side here. You can see that these are the default ones that we include with the system, and these garments are also included by default with the system as well, just so that you can begin printing essentially as soon as you get your AnaJet printer. So we offer these in a couple of different colors. You can just select the little circle here and pick a different color. And this is going to make it easier to represent the end product that you're going to be printing on. But something that's important to note is that you can upload your own products into the system, and you can also upload your own categories or create your own categories so that you can organize things differently. So to show that, I'm actually going to go to the administrator just for 1 second, and we'll come back here again a bit later, and you can see that I have created one ahead of time, but right now it's not active. So one of the features is you can disable without deleting the garments that you've created, so that, for example, if it's out of stock, then you don't have anyone accidentally creating new products based on something you don't have, like a product you don't have at the time. So the administrator works by synchronizing with the creator here. So you can see now that I've done the synchronization, I've added my own product. I had created, it's using just the main platen right now, and so you can use your own anytime you want, and I've also uploaded a back, so we have a front and a back. The position of the actual print table that you're using can be changed on each side. You can also add in, for example, sleeves if you have the pallets for them. So the next thing I'm going to do is go to the graphics tool. We have a catalog here that we offer by default with the system. So just to get you started and even just testing your machine right away, we have a bunch of different categories with, I think, around 200 different designs that you can use. So, and they're all categorized for easy finding, or alternatively you can just search for them as well. So right now I'm just going to pick this eagle, and you can see the preview of the design pop up in the file name. You're going to open it. So from here you can move the design around anywhere within the platen. It does let you go outside, but it's worth noting that if I tried to send it to the printer right now, it would pop up saying that my design is outside of the table, and then it would cut off the bottom parts. So in most cases you want to avoid that. One other great thing to mention here is that we have these very large nodes that you can grab. It lets you resize the image. You can stretch it either way as well. But one of the reasons why we have such large nodes is because we like to offer you a touchscreen solution as well. So I'm going to see if I can do that quickly. Fortunately, it won't pop up on my touchscreen at the moment.
Yeah, they put that in there so that if you have, if you do have a touchscreen on your computer, you can kind of like think about when you're using your smartphone. You can kind of expand and make it bigger, smaller, that sort of thing, rotate it. It's kind of a nice additional feature that Spark laid out for us. At AnaJet, we use a lot of touchscreen computers, so it was definitely fun to play with.
Yeah, in this case specifically, I actually have 2 monitors set up right now, so the one that I'm displaying it on is not touchscreen, so unfortunately I can't show that at the moment. But yeah, everything was made large so you could use it as a touchscreen platform. Other things you can do here include rotating, so you can just click and drag to rotate your designs. This is the move feature up here. So now I will get into some of the effects. So the effects are fairly simple, definitely easy to use, but a lot of them are the most common effects that get used in printing in general. So they're going to be pretty well requested by your customers. So the first one I can show is the drop shadow. I'm going to make it really large just so that you're sure to see it at the moment. But in most cases you probably only want to do it once. You can actually change the angle of the drop shadow, which a lot of the like Photoshop and other programs like that, they make it a little bit more complex. So we just have a really easy dial that you can rotate around and swing the drop shadow around. You can also
kind of goes back. I'm sorry, Trevor. This kind of goes back to what Trevor was talking about with the personalization aspect of it all. When you have the capability to make these kind of on-the-fly adjustments, it's kind of easy to add a little bit more value, right, to the end product. Instead of just having the eagle, you have a drop shadow eagle, which adds a little bit more context to the image and really just makes it look a lot neater for your customer. So that type of quality can translate into, obviously, those higher margins printing. But go ahead, Trevor.
Yep. So I clicked on the color aspect of this effect specifically. So right now you can see that this is actually our ink color palette. You can set this up in the administrator, and I'll probably show that near the very end anyway. But what this lets you do is, if you have like a common customer, someone that orders from you fairly often, you can easily take their colors, like if they have brand colors, or if it's a school, for example, you can take their school colors, and if you have the RGB value or the hex value, you can enter them into the system and then make them available for use, like very, very easily from the designer. So if I select gray or select crimson, it's going to give me the options here, and it's going to tell me what the RGB values are. I can edit those if I want to make very slight changes. For this instance, I'm just going to click OK, and you can see that the back drop shadow has changed to red. For now, I'm actually going to get rid of the drop shadow so that I can show you the second effect, which is outlines. So we have outlines that go around the entire object, and we actually also have double outlines too. So where this can come into effect is, for example, if I change the color of the first outline to silver, for example, you can see that you get some neat artifacts this way as well. And the final thing that I'll show is that I've selected the double outline here, and I'm going to click the sample button. So with the sample button, there's two different things you can do. You can select any color from this display here, and it'll tell you the RGB value, and it'll show you a preview in the bottom corner here of what you're actually picking. Or you can use this to enter the RGB values yourself as well. But better than that, if you hover over your design, you can get a preview of the colors that are within the design itself. So if someone sends you, like a school for example, sends you a design and you don't know what their actual colors are, you are not able to match them, or you're not sure how to match them, you can just pull it into Spark and have any effects that you add automatically match the any portion of their image, really. So in this case, I'm going to select the brown that is part of the eagle's wing, and I'm going to click OK. And you can see that this second outline is going to be an exact match of the color that was used in the actual design itself. So I know from talking with some of the people from AnaJet, this was a big feature for them because they know a lot of customers have had some trouble trying to match exactly the colors that their customers are giving them, like the designs that they're giving them. So that's a really good feature for that. Next, I'm going to move on to another popular feature, is distress. So we have varying levels and different styles of distress that you can put onto your design. And it's just like a popular effect that you can use to make your shirt look like it's been worn. If you click the More button, we also give you a bunch of other options as well, so you can just select them and click OK. So there's quite a few distress options here as well. I'm going to get rid of that for now. And then I'm going to go to the next section, which is masks. So if I click on the masks, you can see that it's going to change the overall look of the actual design. I'm kind of cutting away from the outside. But because I have a double outline on it, actually, you can see that the double outline is going to continue to match the portions of the design that are being cut off. So you could see this being useful or popular when people want to put pictures of children onto their shirt, for example, or family members or anything like that. You can kind of put a nice filter on the outside of them. We also, if you click the More button, have a few other options too. So you can kind of give these effects that are more so like frames than masks even, but they work the same way. And the last effect, actually there's two more effects that I'll go to. First I'm going to go to the color adjusting. So when I have this open, kind of similar to what I talked about before, I'm able to actually change any color within a design to a second color, really, if I want to. So in this case, the eagle is brown. I can pick a portion of its wing, and we have an all areas checkbox here. So if I leave this unchecked, and I'm going to turn the tolerance down to 10, for example, because this is a solid color right now, I'm going to select the color here, and here again I could sample from a different portion of the design if I want it to match perfectly, or I could type in the RGB values, or I can use anything from here. So I'm going to change this just so you can see it clearly. I'm going to change this to a green. I'm sure it's not really ideal, but it's going to change anything that's connected and the same color. So in this case you can see that there's a little area here that is open. So I've changed the entire thing to, or I've changed the body and one of the wings to green, but I've left the rest of the design the same color as normal. I'm going to reload the original design, or you can click the undo button since I only made one change there. But if I have all areas selected, then I can go and I can change them. For example, if I wanted to make black's probably not a good color, you won't be able to see it very well. I'm going to change it to blue this time. So now it's taken every different portion of the design that is that brown color and changed it to a blue. So this can be used as a really easy way to make small edits to your customers' designs if they request them, or your own designs if you want to. And it makes sure that you can always match any colors as well that you want to have matched from different portions of the design. The alternative is, the last thing that I'll mention here is that you can actually remove all of the colors by making them transparent. So this is a great way to save ink. For example, if your shirt that you are printing on is the same brown color as the eagle is, or is a very similar color at least, you would make a selection, select all areas so that it takes all of the brown color, and you can make all of it transparent. So now when I save this design, it's going to let the color of the actual garment show through it, and that will save you a lot of ink as well.
That specifically is probably one of the most powerful things when it comes to doing dark shirts.
Yep.
And you know, and some light shirts, but realistically, when you, for example, if you're printing on a black shirt and you have black in the design, there's no point in putting black ink on a black shirt. It's a waste of ink, and to be honest with you, it doesn't look as good. When you can use the black of the shirt as part of the design, you get a much cleaner and obviously less costly item to print. So that's a nice feature to be able to manipulate the transparency. In fact, from a standpoint of prior to us having had Spark, that was one of the things that I did to pretty much every image that a customer gave me before I even had could bring it into our own personal RIP. I would take it into Photoshop and make any part of the image that I needed transparent, which was it wasn't difficult, but it was cumbersome at times depending on the style of the image and the quality. Whereas with this Spark software, it's pretty seamless.
Right, it's a big time-saving thing, really. You can do it in Photoshop, but it's going to take you a bit longer to do.
Right.
So that's another big feature of the Spark. The last thing from the designer aspect that I'm going to show you is Vivid Black. And it's kind of similar to what we just described, where you can make changes and remove colors. But this actually, instead of removing colors, changes them. So unfortunately, it doesn't show incredibly well, but you might be able to see it a little bit. When I turn it on, you can see that the colors in the wings here, I'll try to make it a little bit bigger, they become a bit darker. So right now, if you were to print this, you would get kind of a dull black color, and if that's what you're going for, great. But a lot of the times, people who are printing, they want their blacks to come through strongly. So if you enable Vivid Black, you'll get a deeper black. You'll get a proper black color, really, for anything within a certain, any color within a certain closeness to black. So if I go to settings here, you can set the range for Vivid Black. So right now, anything, if I have Vivid Black selected, anything that's under 40, 40, 40 in RGB values, so moving closer to 0, since black is 0, 0, 0, anything lower than this number is going to change and be set automatically to the deepest black color. Okay, so that is most of the effects, at least within the system. We have visual tools on the side, so you can zoom in, zoom out of your product if you want. You can also select the hand here to pan around in case you need to get a different view of what you're creating. But I'm going to go into settings for 1 second. And I'm going to describe the AnaRip software a tiny bit. So if you get the printer, you're going to be using AnaRip to actually print the designs, but we're going to help you to set up the designs beforehand. So we've created a way that we can automatically open AnaRip software once you're ready to print. All you need to do is point the file to where you've saved or where you've installed the AnaRip software. So if I wanted to print this eagle right now, for example, I'm going to move it to the bottom, and I'm actually going to add a tiny bit of text. I'll put my name onto it. And I'll get into text in a second, actually, too, just so you can see how it works. So you'll notice that the frame around the outside is the main platen. The size is 14 by 18. And I have one design on the top, one design near the bottom. If I click the print button, it's going to open up the AnaRip software for me automatically. So you can see that in this case I have a white background because I was printing on a white shirt. My designs are centered, or not centered, sorry, they're in the same location as I had created them within the Spark software. So in this case, for the most part, you can just hit print, really. There might be a couple of settings you would want to change in here, but AnaJet will be able to describe those a bit better for you if you use the software. The most important thing, though, is that if I close this for a second, I believe I've created a second product, so now I've got kind of this lime shock, lime green color that I'm going to be printing on. if I click and send it to the printer again, the background is going to be the same. So it always knows and can do setups appropriately for the color that you're going to be printing on. And the locations are always going to be exactly where you laid them out within the Spark software as well. So that's the main way that it works really well with the AnaRip and how it communicates with the AnaRip software. Text-wise, we have all of the same options here. We also have envelopes, so you can change the how your text is angled a bit. I'm going to actually go into the font section here, and if you have a font uploaded, you can do a search for it, or you can create your own categories as well, and you can select from the different categories. So this gives you like a preview image of the fonts that you're using, and we give you something like 30 or 40 fonts or something by default that you can use right away. But it's important to note as well that TrueType fonts can be imported into the Spark software. So what that means is almost any font that you have installed on your PC by default can be brought into the Spark software and used for your personalizations. Another thing to note is that we have colors you can do the same way, except we also give the option for text to use gradients. So here I'm going to use a gray color for the first gradient, and for the second one I'm going to use royal blue. And similar to how we changed the drop shadow design, you can change exactly how the gradient is going to appear. So I'm going to put it from mostly top to bottom, and I should probably change that. I'll change that color to white just so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. So this is another way that you can add some value to your personalizations, because you can easily create some good text effects as well. Excuse me. Okay. So something else that I'm going to talk about in the Creator is I'm going to actually delete this stuff. And as I mentioned near the beginning, we have the ability to open and save templates. So here, for example, I've created two different categories. One is the creative layout section. One is client proposals. I haven't made one yet, but I will do that in a second. But for creative layouts, this is something that I had created before, but for example, could be something that you've created for one of your customers, and you can save it into your database, and then all you need to do is open it in order to bring it back and be able to print it again right away. So the option here is that it asks you if you want to keep the original position, and this is because sometimes you might open a design that was created for a large garment, and it actually, you're trying to print it now on a smaller shirt, or a shirt that uses a smaller table. So in this case, it matches because I created it for this originally. But if it didn't, I could click no, and that would actually resize the design to fit within the table that you've selected. So for this design, you can see that I have I've added some personalized text. It's got the year, it's got the place. If I want to change this, I can easily do so. I'm going to add in Newport Beach. So this right here, honestly, can be the difference between selling a $20 shirt and a $25 shirt, just adding simple personalizations like this. You can imagine it can be used for events like concerts and charity events and whatnot too.
Family reunions, things like that. Yeah, it's good point, Trevor. Good point.
Yep. So now that I've opened this, I've made a quick change. I could send it straight to the printer if I wanted to. Alternatively, or for now, I'm actually going to be creating a proposal for a potential customer. So in order to do that, and just show you a bit better how it works, I'm going to just type in something for the back. So if you're a big surfing fan, it might make sense. And actually, so another thing that I didn't discuss before quickly is right now you have to do everything by moving your mouse around, but if you want this to be exactly in the center of the table, there's options here to center to frame horizontally. You can also do vertically or completely center it to the middle of your frame. I'm going to change this text quickly, and then I'm going to make sure that it's centered. So now I've got a print image on the front and the back, and maybe I'm printing 5 of them, maybe I'm only printing 1, but I have the option to either save this as an image, which would just create a PNG that I could email to the customer, for example, or I could save it as a layout for future use. Right now I'm actually going to go into kind of the business tools aspect of it and save this new layout under client proposals. So in this case, I import, so this is my design name. I'm going to be proposing this to a client, so it's going to grab the images from both sides, and it's going to take a second and start generating a report for me here. So you can see that in this case I've created a front and a back, so it's going to show me a preview images of both of these. Customer information, this should just be like the address. I'm not going to fill out a full address here at the moment. But this would be most likely their shipping information, or at least who you're going to be sending it to or dealing with. Now, here you can see that I have created a men's shirt. It's on an extra large. Color is lime chalk. I've got images on the front and the back. Right now I'm only creating 1, but for example, if I want to create more, I just change the units if they've ordered 4 of them. The unit price for each shirt that I'm printing is going to be $19.99. If you are personalizing it, you could increase that price. And for example, if I want to give them a discount because they're a charity or something like that, I'm just going to give them a 5% discount just so you can see. If, for example, because this is a somewhat generic shirt, I want to print different copies of it and on different sizes, I can click the plus button here to add a new product. I can go to, let's make it the same style. So my athletic t-shirt, I'm just going to make it a medium and white this time. So now that I've added that, I'm going to change the number of units to 3. So you can see that now we're making 7 shirts. We're going to be proposing 7 shirts overall. And to update any of these totals, you just have to hit calculate costs. So that's going to give the end cost. What's the tax rate in California?
Call it 8.5%. It's a little high out here.
It's not as bad as where I am. So we have 8%. So it's going to calculate your taxes for you and give you that information as well, which is great. For the deposit, for example, because this order is for more than $100 or something, you can say that you want the customer to provide a 25% deposit before you actually start printing. So I'm going to calculate the cost. So we know that in order to start printing, they're going to have to pay you $36.87. And then upon completion, they're going to have to pay you the remainder, which is the balance owing, and that's $110. So this is an easy way to crunch some numbers for you, basically. A lot of people don't think about when they're starting their business up at the beginning because they just want to get directly to printing, and that's great. But unfortunately, some math is needed run a business, at least if you want it to be successful. So the other information.
It also creates I'm sorry, Trevor. Trevor, one quick thing. It also creates a in addition to having this be logged and clear and understand for you, it also becomes something very clear for your customers so that they know exactly what they're getting, and an easy way for them to track as well as you to track what you produce or what you're planning to produce for them.
Exactly.
So that way, especially come tax time, it's obviously makes a difference when it comes to working with the new.
Yep, you can save a record of this on your computer, or you can have them printed out as well, so that you know how much you've invoiced people for in the end. So I'll quickly go through this. We have include copyright information. So if your designs come from someone else, or even your own designs, you want to include your copyright information so people can't steal your designs and use them for their own purposes. We also include a watermark over the images, just in case someone decides, maybe their design was really small and they think they can just, take it from the PDF that you send them or something. We include a watermark over top of it so that you can protect your own artwork as well. We have order confirmation and the terms of service, so you can edit the terms of service. You can create your own terms. I just created this really quickly. And the last thing you can do is set your pricing valid until date. So because you're actually sending this to a customer and you haven't gotten the order necessarily yet, you're going to want to tell them that, I can guarantee I'll give you this price up until this point. And that protects you as well if they come back in the future potentially and you've increased your prices. They'll show you this page and say, I got this price here a year ago. I want it again. Well, the pricing was valid until that date. So at this point, you can either print it or you can save it as a PDF. I'm just going to quickly save it as a PDF. Actually, I might just be able to show you a preview of it here. So without even saving it for a second, I'll show you a preview of it. So you have the two images that you're going to be printing. They both have a sample watermark placed over top of them. You have the customer information in the corner here. We have your own company's information here so that they know how to re-contact you if they need to contact you again. And then we also have a list of the products, so the customer knows exactly what they're going to be getting when you send it to them or when they've agreed to it. So we have the terms of service have appeared, all the costs have appeared. There's a line at the bottom for signatures because before you actually start printing, you're going to want to get it in writing that they are going to pay for what you're going to be providing them. We find that this also can be used really well as an in-package, not invoice, or it could be invoice, so that you can give people a list of the products that they're receiving as well. So if you put this into the package when you send it to them, they'll know that they're getting 4 of this size and 3 of this size. So that's another option that you can use too. I'm going to close that for now. And the last thing, as we've shown already, is just if you click the print button, then you're going to be able to see it and essentially print it right away. So close that. I've actually skipped over a slide, so I'll go through this quickly. But this is just how to make sure your customers are happy with the designs before printing. So you're going to be able to give them all of this information, and then at the end of it, you're going to get it in writing that they're going to be able to pay you. And that's the business tools for Spark there.
Good stuff. So,
looking at the time now, I don't think we're going to have quite a lot of time to go through the administrator. So I'll just really briefly go through a couple of things that are going to help you keep yourself organized. For example, The design gallery is where you can store a lot of your own images. You can store images that your customers have given you for future use in case they want to order again, and that just lets you bring it up really quickly within the Spark software. I'm going to go to the administrator here. So this is the design categories, so you can create your own categories. Managing designs, if you click on the designs here, you can see that all of them have keywords associated with them as well. So when I was using Spark before, I showed you can use a design search. So if you search for police badge or badges or cop, you'll see this design. If you search for baseball, you're going to see this glove. Because you're not necessarily going to remember all of your design names, but if you associate keywords with them, then you can easily do a search and find them that way. As I mentioned, you can also change the price of individual designs, so that will get added onto the total when you go to create the proposal. So if you sell a garment for $20, for example, and then you have a new design or a design that you want to put onto it, you can charge for that design itself as well. So that could be, for example, your charge for personalizing things. We have the ability, because we know we don't want to upload every design one thing at a time. That would be extremely tedious. You can load multiple designs at once. You can also load EPS designs into the system using a zip file. So those are just fast ways to add all the designs to your system so that you can just bring them up easily again afterwards. With font categories, actually sorry, I'll go to Manage Fonts. You can filter your fonts, and same with designs. You can always filter them to find what you're looking for. You can also add new fonts. So you can see that right now we have quite a few fonts that we just kind of give you by default, but if you want to create a new font, you can click the little button here and select a TrueType font from your computer. So you can see here that I have access to 100 more fonts at least that I could be using for personalizations within Spark. The ink color palette, as I mentioned it here before, is if you know the hex value of any of the school designs, for example, you can copy them into here and you can have it available to you within Spark anytime you want to use them. So that's a pretty simple way of just adding colors that you want to use frequently. The last thing I'm going to show you, I believe, is the products. So this is where you upload all of your products into the system. So for the one that I showed you before, we have the white garment here. You can see that I've added it to the men's t-shirt category. I've made this shirt available in white and lime shot colors. You can also add colors or subtract them as they're available to you. The sizes I have it available in are small to extra large, and you can create your own sizes within Spark as well. So you can name them differently if you want to. And the assigned size is important because in this example I've only allowed people to print on the front and the back. But I could also have a left shoulder or a right shoulder, or I could just create a left chest one, potentially two. And that lets you decide which you're going to print on. So in order to create the tables, we've added the positioning for the tables and how they appear in your Spark software. This is mainly for your own preview purposes, because once you send it to the printer, it's going to use the table settings that have been used. So with this garment, I have the main table assigned. The youth table is available, but you can also add your own tables as well for to make sure that you have anything that AnaJet offers. And you can see that in this case, I've uploaded an image for the white front of the shirt, and if I go to the back, I have the back image. So you need an image of your products ideally, because this is going to allow you to show your customers, and when you're designing yourself, then you can see what the end product is going to look like. So that's a really quick overview of the administrator, but it's not as exciting because it's just how you set up your products so that you can actually design on them and then begin to print. But it's very important, obviously. All right. So that is the end of me talking for now until we hear some questions from you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat. At the moment, I am not able to see them, so if it's possible, Adam, are you able to read any of them out to me?
Yeah, I'm going to get them directly from Sabrina here. She's on it. She should be sending over some of the questions.
Okay. In the meantime, I will post this information. So for how you can get Spark, if you buy a new AnaJet machine, they generally come with Spark. So that's an excellent way and an easy way to get it. You can also go, if you already have an AnaJet machine, but you don't have Spark right now, you can go to the AnaJet store, or you can contact AnaJet's customer care and ask about purchasing Spark.
Okay, it looks like we do have a few questions that have come up. The first one is that one of them is, my program only gives options of men's medium or ladies V-neck. Trevor, you might be a little bit more versed at being able to answer that, but I do know that you can add different styles of shirts. So we may need to just walk you through on how to add those.
Right. I think I missed
early on.
I missed the beginning of what you were mentioning. Could you just repeat what you had said first again? Sorry.
Yeah, it was that the Spark software that this customer is using only gives them an option for a men's medium or a ladies V-neck. So it sounds like they would just need to add the different styles to their internal
right.
software.
So if you go, yeah, if it's not there, you would have to add them. But generally, by default, we include men's T-shirt, polos, women's T-shirt and polos, and children's. So if you click on these sections, you should be able to open different garments.
Under choose product. And then one of the other ones can it be used with CorelDRAW? So you can always work, when you're working within CorelDRAW, you can export the file to whatever file you're working on, I believe you could do it as a PNG, a TIFF, a JPEG, whatever it might be, and then you can always bring that file into the Spark software.
Right. If it also works with EPS files, and those are vector files that CorelDRAW should be able to produce, so you can use those as well, yes.
The next question would be, would you be able to send us to the PowerPoint presentation? Yeah, we're gonna put up all of this on our website and get you all of those details. So yeah, as soon as we have it up, we'll send out a follow-up email letting you know once you have access, so you can have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
The next one was, how can you personalize the proposals to include shipping?
To include shipping prices, or if it's shipping information, you can add into the top section where it just asks for customer information. Alternatively, I'm not quite sure how UPSP works all the time, but is it a percentage or it's based on weight? For shipping information, we typically don't use that because you have to work out so much information, like where you're sending the file or where you're sending the garments to. Is it international or not? Is it using companies like FedEx, for example, or is it just using the regular postal system? So shipping-wise, for prices at least, we don't get those at the moment because we would have to check many different sites for many different weights and all that kind of information. But if you want to add the shipping information to your proposal, even the cost, for example, there are sections for example, the top section where it just says customer information, you could paste in the shipping confirmation address or shipping confirmation number, sorry, and you could add the price to that if you wanted to.
Okay. Can you add Spark to your web page for people to upload their own image to see immediate proof?
At the moment, we don't have Spark online. Pulse, our company itself, we offer a few different online designers that could be used. Most of them function somewhat similarly to Spark. So if you do need a designer in your website, then we can help you with that for sure. But Spark itself does not go into web pages. Something you can easily do, though, if you want to see a proof, is even just, if I have an image here, if you want to post on social media, for example, and you know what your shirt looks like, you could just use even the snipping tool that comes with your Windows computer and just take a screenshot of here, save this image, and upload it to anything you need to.
Okay. Can you add, I'm sorry, where can you get non-default shirt colors?
So the non-default shirt colors, the shirt color itself actually comes from whatever pictures you have available. So for example, I'll go back to the example that I was using before, the men's t-shirt here. I have a picture of the front in white, and I have a picture of the back in white. I also have a picture of these same shirts in green, in this green color. If I wanted to add another garment, or another color rather, then I would need to have those as well, like those, the images of those colors. Sorry, so if I go into products here, and I look at t-shirt Athletic M, I can actually set up one very quickly. So I'll go to the front. Right now it's set to white. I'm going to say that I'm going to go to colors. I'm going to say that I also offer this in silver, this garment in silver. And now when I go here, I can choose silver, and I can upload a file. So I'm on the front right now, so I'm going to upload the front, and I'm going to submit that. And then I'm going to go to the back, and I have an image of the back in silver as well. So I can submit that. And now when I go to synchronize my product again, or my Spark software, sorry, it'll just take a second. I can select this garment, and I can go to the color wheel here and select gray. So now, or silver. So now I've added a new color into the software. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah, that sounds good. The next one was, where is the administrator button located?
Okay, so the administrator is actually a separate program in a sense. The creator has, well, you can create a desktop icon for both of them if you would like. The creator, we have an icon for it. The software, I'll close this and see if I can go close the presentation for 1 second. You can see on my desktop I just have an icon for both of them. So the administrator for Spark is actually a web-based administrator. So I just have mine open in Chrome, but if I close this, for example, I can just open it again, and when I click on it, it's going to open Chrome for me because that's my default web browser. So that should pop up in a second. And then, so they are two separate software items in a sense, even though we always give you a administrator with the creator station. So you'll always have both.
So just in addition, I was reading through some of these other questions while this loads up. You can add other fonts. There was a section in there that we did cover that, but we can help walk you through kind of some of the other fonts. Typically, you can buy fonts online, or you can access them just from there are some online sources where you can get them for free, and you can add them to it. And another one was that can you add other colors, shirts as ash colors? And yes, you can. Like we kind of addressed earlier, in addition to different styles, you can add different colors as well.
Yep. As long as you have a picture of the garment that you want to upload, you can upload anything to use as your backdrop. And with the fonts, I mentioned a bit earlier that you can upload your own TrueType fonts as well. So Spark comes with between 30 and 40 fonts by default, I believe, and then you always have access to any TrueType font that's on your computer already. So in most cases, you'll instantly have access to another like 100 or more fonts that you can get into the program. And then if you want to buy a font online, or if you want to download a font online from whatever source, as long as there is a TrueType version of it, then you can use it in Spark.
So the next, one of the next one was how can they address like post-purchasing training and support? So if they have a question about Spark specifically, where can they go? I do know that some of our support team here has become well versed at it, and I'm sure that they could help you out to some extent. But Trevor, do you have additional help there?
Yep. So for training and support, we offer on the Spark website, sparkdtg.com. It has a training page, and it offers a bunch of different videos that show you how to use every feature of the designer, and also it explains how to use the features of the administrator. So you can go online on that site, and I'll actually bring it up on the page, sparkdtg. And when you're on the site, you'll see that there's videos for pretty much everything. So there's a video to show you how to add new garments, how to create new categories and new tables. There's a video for importing designs and tutorials, video for changing the ink color palette. So pretty much everything should be covered by these videos. But if you do have any other questions or issues, then the AnaJet support team is able to help with that as well.
Right, and the next question is how easily is it to upload JPEG files? It's the same as pretty much all files.
Yep.
So it's pretty easy. The software is $600. The next one was a question about the software, the cost. It's $695, but if you do purchase an AnaJet, the software does come free with it, at least for the time being. One of the other questions was, if I'm already using CorelDRAW and Photoshop, do we need to use Spark to print to the AnaJet? You mentioned there's a RIP software. No, you don't necessarily need the Spark software. You can utilize CorelDRAW or Photoshop and just upload it right into the RIP that comes with the printer. But I do want to mention the whole purpose behind getting the Spark software is to make a very convenient, seamless transition for you with your images.
Right.
The next, if the customer goes to my company website, can they create their own using Spark? No, so it's not web-based like we mentioned before. Can we load the software onto multiple computers? We use different laptops for different shows. That's a good question, Trevor. Can they load it on different multiple computers?
So right now, the license for Spark, when you buy it, you get one license. If you want to purchase a second license, you can use the same key, the same security key, and install it on a second computer if you'd like. Because it is a local software, though, your images are going to stay on the computer that you created on. But it would give you access to like a second designer, for example, so you could make that, or you could have two different people working on it making designs if you want to use it that way.
Yeah, and it sounds like you would just have to get access to another version of it for that different computer, and then I'm sure you could save the designs after the fact if you want to have some sort of uniformity that you can be shared on both computers.
Yep. When you create designs, you can always save them as regular images, either PNGs or JPEGs. For pretty much all image-related work, we're going to recommend PNG files just because they support the transparent background, and it'll save a lot of ink, and the quality will be better overall.
Right.
If you use PNGs or TIFF files even.
Right, and then the next question was price for anyone already owning an AnaJet printer. So it is $695. That's what we so the price of the software. One of them, we just got an AnaJet, but it didn't go with the software. Is there an installation disk or something to be downloaded? I'm going to ask you personally, if you could reach out to me directly. My email address is A as in Adam, T as in Tom, I, P as in Paul, R as in Robert, E as in Edward at AnaJet.com, and I'll investigate that specific incident. It's A, T as in Tom, I, P as in Paul, R as in Robert, E as in Edward at AnaJet.com.
Yep. And once
the next one there is, sorry, Trevor, give me 1 second.
Yep.
So the next one was is there a customer version of Spark Windows so your customers can design their own shirts? They can do it. They can design their own shirts, or they can kind of help. But it's not necessarily web-based, right? So that's where that kind of came from.
No, I think some people were looking to use like a kiosk. Was that what they were asking, maybe?
No, I think it had to do more of like
the web-based.
A web-based design software, which is not meant for.
Okay. Well, Pulse Microsystems as a company, we create software. So if they do require an online system that works with AnaJet printers, we can make that for them. We have a couple of example sites online that our customers can see, but they would have to contact Pulse, or they can contact you and we can speak with them.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, anybody, if you'd like to reach out to me, I can put you in contact with the right people. Definitely. Yep. Yeah, good point, Trevor. Next one, who would be the contact person to help us with the initial setup of the AnaJet and get the software, AnaJet and Spark? That would be our support department. You can call our toll-free number at 800, what is it? 877-626-2538. That's 877-626-2538, and get in contact with our support department. They'll be able to help you out. Give me some tag at the same time. So one customer had a question about using removable tag T-shirts and setting up a template to print both the image of the body of the shirt and the tag at the same time. And then is it possible to print a second layer of the first layer? Let me address that first piece. So depending on how you set it up on the printer, it's not so much necessarily the software that can do that for you. It's how you put the shirt on the platen. There are ways to kind of put the shirt on the platen so that you can print both the tagless area and the front image. And so that might be something that it's a little bit of a trial and error. But if you did create an image that had a tag portion on the top and then the image on the bottom, there could be some capability, and there could be a way to do that. As for the second part of it, is there a way to print a second layer over the first layer in one setup? You can always, as long as you don't move the shirt, you can always print a second layer on top of it just by going into the control panel on the printer itself and adding additional copy or hitting print again to send it right over the top of it. The next question was, does the library contain photo images or just illustrations? That's a good question. Are there any photo images on there, Trevor, or is it just artwork and clip art type stuff?
So by default, we provide more so artwork and clip art. We don't have any photos in it by default. We have kind of partnered with Action Illustrated, so we get designs from Action Illustrated to put in our products, and so we have a sample of them into Spark. And they're a great way for people who are starting up to just get a bunch of designs that they can use right away. At the same time, as I mentioned before, I think if you want to have like custom images, if you want to have photographs or anything like that to use, you can always add them yourself to the catalog. So, for example, in this case, I can select all files. I could search for my stuff. You can see that the templates that I had created are still here, and those are images that were provided by AnaJet actually a while ago. So you can definitely add them to the catalog, but we don't include any images by default.
Okay, good to know. All right, now what about Mac operating system? And I think I may know the answer to this just because of the limitations in terms of the AnaJet RIP software that comes with the printer is only PC-based, at least for the time being.
Right.
So my understanding, and I could probably answer this for you, Trevor, is that right now it's just PC-based, but AnaJet's working on some a RIP software for Mac, and I'm sure we'll have some sort of capability to cross over that with Spark once we do. There was a follow-up question to my point about loading or that printing on the tag of the shirt. Adding, can you load multiple images into Spark? And yes, you can. You can load as many as you as you like. So, and it's not necessarily using the name feature like was referenced. So, you can do it. And that actually wraps up kind of all of the questions that we received. I do want to thank everybody for coming out, and Trevor for taking the time to kind of go over this in more detail. Just for all of the customers that are still on, we want to let you know that you will have access to this. It's going to be posted on our website once we get through making sure that it's recorded and everything. And I'm sure that there's always going to be more and more questions that Trevor can supply the link to the training part of his website, and then also our customer support team here is here to help you with anything that you need. But just to kind of end it, because I'm sure everybody's got to cut out. We really do appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much, and Trevor, really thank you for kind of going through this in more detail for all of our customers. We really appreciate it, and we really like this software.
You're very welcome, and thank you very much for having me. And as Adam said, thank you everyone who has come to see. We hope you like what you've seen.
Definitely, guys. Thank you again. I hope everyone has a good rest of the day and a good week. Thanks for logging on.
Good day, everyone.